This is asking you which quadrant goes between pi and 3 pi over 2 radians and 0 to pi over 2 radians. Pause your video now so you can figure that out. In case you forgot, the quadrants are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the radian measures are 0, pi over 2, pi, and 3 pi over 2. Missed that pi for a second. So, between pi and 3 pi over 2, why, that's right here. There's pi, there's 3 pi over 2. That is quadrant 3. And then from 0 to 2 pi, or pi over 2 rather, is right here. It's quadrant 1. These here are called double angle identities, because basically if you know sine of some angle, you can use that to find sine of 2 times that angle. So for example, if you know sine of, I don't know, 45 degrees, then you could do 2 times 45 degrees, which would give you, of course, 90 degrees. You may notice that, for example, in the sine one that we were looking at, you also need to know cosine of that original angle. So what's going to help you with that, of course, is remembering that sine is y over r, cosine is x over r, and tangent, which of course you now know is sine over cosine, is just y over x. And you would find these by doing x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Also, over here, you can just do tangent just by knowing tangent. Cosine, however, if you look at this, you could just do cosine here and just use cosine and get it. Or you could use sine as well. And by the way, with these 3 cosine things, it doesn't matter which identity you're going to use. Just pick the one you're most comfortable with. This question is asking you to find all 3. Sine of 2 theta, cosine of 2 theta, and tangent of 2 theta. We know that sine is negative 7 over 25, which means we have our y and we have our r. We'll have to find the x, but that'll be fine. And we're on the interval between pi and 3 pi over 2, which if you remember from the brain starter, is quadrant 3. And in quadrant 3, sine is negative, cosine is negative, and tangent is positive. So, real quick, let's get the x value for this. We'll set it up with 7 squared plus x squared equals 25 squared. If you solve this, you're going to find that x equals 24. And yes, I did the work for you because I know that you can handle it. So, real quick, I'm going to write these at the top so we don't forget them, and then I'm going to erase the work. So, make sure you understand it before you move on. X is 24, y is 7, and r is 25. So I'm going to erase the work now, make sure you understand where the 24 came from. Now, since all of these use sine, cosine, and tangent, it may be really helpful to figure out what they are. So sine we already know is negative 7 over 25. Cosine is x over r, and it's negative, so it's negative 24 over 25. And then tangent is positive, and it's positive 7 over 24 for y over x. So, let's get sine of 2 theta. Well, sine of 2 theta is simply 2 times sine of theta times cosine of theta. So in this case, we have 2 times negative 7 over 25 times negative 24 over 25. And now we can just multiply across the top and across the bottom. On top, we get a positive, because negative times a negative, 336 divided by 625. Next, let's get cosine of 2 theta. And you can pick whichever one of these you like. Just for fun, I don't know, I'll go with the first one here. It doesn't matter which one you entirely use, so you're going to have cosine squared of regular theta minus sine squared of theta. So in this case, we're going to have negative 24 over 25 squared minus negative 7 over 25 squared. So when you square these, you'll get 576 over 625 minus 49 over 625, which gives you 527 over 625. Last but not least, let's handle the tangent of 2 theta. So tangent of 2 theta, the formula is 2 times tangent of theta divided by 1 minus tangent squared. So in our case, we have on top 2 times 7 over 24 over 1 minus 7 over 24 squared. So let's do a little simplifying here. The 2 would cancel out here and give you a 12, so you'd have 7 over 12. Down here we're going to have to square that. So we're going to end up with, real quick, we'll have 7 over 12 on top, and on the bottom, I'm going to change that 1 to 576 over 576 for the purpose of this, because we'll end up with minus 49 over 576. That, of course, equals 7 over 12, all over, and 576 minus 49 is 527 over 576. Now, let's see if 576 and 12 can be reduced further. Since 576 divided by 12 is 48, we can divide that by 12 and get 1, and this is 48. So now what we're left with is this weird little fraction of 7 over 527 over 48. And the way you would handle this is multiply by 48 over 48, because these would cancel, and then we'd get 7 times 48, which gives you 336 over 527. And that is your final answer.